It was an ordinary Tuesday morning, but the news was anything but. Inside a small conference room at Tesla's headquarters, Elon Musk sat across from a group of his closest advisors, his mind racing. He had just received word of a devastating leak, one that threatened to shatter the carefully curated narrative surrounding his latest business venture. This wasn't just about Tesla or SpaceX anymore. This was about something far more controversial, Dogecoin, the cryptocurrency that Musk had championed as both a joke and a revolution. The leak came straight from Crockett, a rising political figure known for his combative nature and questionable tactics. Crockett had somehow uncovered a hidden deal between Musk's companies and a series of underground cryptocurrency markets. But this wasn't just any deal. According to sources close to the investigation, it involved a massive pump-and-dump operation designed to manipulate Dogecoin's value, lining Musk's pockets with millions at the expense of everyday investors. Musk had to act fast. If the leak got out, it would be catastrophic. But even worse. Crockett had just dropped the bombshell, and it was already making waves across social media. "Crockett's got the public's ear," one of Musk's advisors warned. "If we don't handle this now, we could lose everything." Musk leaned back in his chair, a contemplative look on his face. He knew the stakes were high, but this was the moment he had been preparing for. The question was, what would be his next move? Musk's mind was sharp, calculating. He could already see the headlines forming, the frenzy growing. But there was something more, a feeling in his gut that this wasn't just about the cryptocurrency. No, this was bigger. Crockett had something personal against him, and Musk wasn't one to sit back and let someone tear down everything he'd worked for. By midday, the Twitter world was ablaze. Crockett had tweeted a cryptic message that was setting the stage for a battle of epic proportions: "The truth is coming. And when it does, even Musk's billions won't be able to save him." It was clear Crockett was playing the long game. His social media presence was gaining traction fast, and the momentum was undeniable. His followers, a mix of disillusioned citizens and political zealots, hung on every word he posted. This wasn't just political posturing, it was a calculated assault, one that was threatening to bring Musk's empire to its knees. In response, Musk wasted no time. He tweeted out a single line that would send shockwaves through the media: "Crockett's claims are nothing but smoke and mirrors. I'll expose the truth. Stay tuned." It was short. It was to the point. But it carried weight. Musk had never been one to shy away from controversy, but he was about to take things to a level that no one expected. Behind the scenes, his advisors were scrambling to gather intel. They needed more than just a denial, they needed to turn the tables. They needed to expose Crockett for the manipulator he truly was. As the day wore on, Musk's team began to uncover something shocking. Crockett wasn't just involved in politics. There were whispers of a secret business connection between him and a series of shady figures in the cryptocurrency world, figures who had once been on Musk's radar as potential allies. It was all beginning to fall into place. The clock was ticking. The war of words between Musk and Crockett had only just begun, and neither side was going to back down. The news hit harder than expected. Just hours after Musk's tweet, an exclusive report broke on several financial news outlets. Crockett had been secretly involved in a series of off-the-books cryptocurrency deals, including suspicious transactions with figures from the same shadowy circles that Musk had once distanced himself from. The timing was impeccable. Just as Crockett's accusations were gaining traction, Musk's team had struck with devastating precision. The exposé detailed how Crockett had used his political clout to obscure his involvement in a massive crypto scam, where millions of dollars had been funneled into untraceable accounts. Musk knew it was a calculated move, but he had to admit, it was a brilliant one. The media ate it up, painting Crockett as a hypocrite and a fraud. It didn't take long for Crockett to respond. His press conference was held on live television, and he wasted no time in counterattacking. He stormed into the room, his expression cold, eyes glaring at the cameras. "Today, Elon Musk and his team of cronies think they can manipulate the truth with their wealth and their power," Crockett began, his voice full of disdain. But let me make one thing clear, the truth can't be silenced. Not by billionaires, not by criminals in high places. What Musk and his people are hiding will come to light, and when it does, it will be too late for them to do anything about it. It was a direct challenge, and the rhetoric was exactly what Musk had expected: blame shifting, deflection, and anger. Crockett had learned from the best. But Musk wasn't fazed. His people had gathered the evidence, and they had prepared their own surprise. Musk's legal team was already in motion, preparing to drop the next bombshell, a recording, allegedly from a private meeting between Crockett and one of the very people he had accused Musk of working with. Musk stood in front of his team, his expression unwavering. "We've got him," he said, the confidence in his voice unmistakable. "Let's show the world who Crockett really is." With everything in place, the stage was set for the final confrontation. But no one could predict how much further the stakes would rise in this deadly game of political chess. The hours following the release of the bombshell recording were electric. The world was watching, and the pressure was mounting on both sides. Media outlets couldn't stop replaying the damning audio, where Crockett could be heard discussing how he had colluded with cryptocurrency insiders to manipulate markets that Musk had been indirectly linked to in the past. But the recording revealed something even more sinister: Crockett's involvement in orchestrating Dogecoin's price fluctuations. The leak was a game-changer. Crockett's carefully crafted image as a champion for transparency was shattered in an instant. His base of supporters, who had once blindly followed his every word, began to fracture. Some questioned his motives, while others rallied around him in an attempt to protect him from the backlash. Musk, however, was not finished. He had prepared a plan that would not only destroy Crockett's political career but his financial one as well. Within hours, a coordinated release of legal documents was made public, showing that Crockett had directly benefited from the crypto schemes he had once denounced. Musk's team wasn't just going after Crockett's political influence, they were targeting his wealth, his power, his very existence in the public eye. Musk's tweet followed, succinct but crushing: "Game over. Crockett's betrayal will cost him everything. The truth is out. Time to answer for it." But Musk knew that the game wasn't over yet. Crockett, despite the damning evidence, was still a formidable force. His political connections ran deep, and the damage to Musk's reputation had not been fully assessed. There was a delicate balance to maintain, and the next move would be crucial. Crockett's retort came quickly. He released his own counterattack, a blistering open letter, accusing Musk of being a puppet master in a much larger conspiracy, orchestrating global events behind the scenes. He painted Musk as the villain, the mastermind of a tech oligarchy that sought to control the masses through manipulation of the digital world. The letter struck a chord with those who felt disillusioned by Musk's meteoric rise, and the battle for public opinion escalated. The political and financial stakes had never been higher. The war for public perception had turned into an all-out battle. Newsrooms were flooded with live debates, political pundits analyzing every twist and turn, and social media platforms were ablaze with hashtags, memes, and outraged posts. The world was divided: on one side, Musk, with his undeniable achievements, his billions, and his unshakable confidence; on the other, Crockett, now an embattled figure trying to cling to the scraps of his reputation. But the final move, the one that would settle this once and for all, was about to be made. It started with a private meeting at Musk's headquarters. Late that evening, Musk convened with his top advisors. They were all aware of the delicate nature of what was about to unfold. Musk had carefully chosen a new path, one that would expose not just Crockett, but the true power dynamics behind the entire scandal. In the dead of night, a new series of documents was leaked. But this time, the documents weren't from Crockett's camp, they were about him. The leak revealed a web of financial ties connecting Crockett to some of the world's most powerful players in both the political and tech sectors. It was an empire of influence, and Crockett was no longer just a rogue politician, he was a pawn in a much larger game. The documents showed that Crockett had taken large sums of money from foreign entities, all while pretending to be a crusader for the common man. His accusations against Musk now seemed hollow, driven by ulterior motives to divert attention away from his own shady dealings. The world was watching as Musk's team dropped the final bombshell. A global investigation into Crockett's financial dealings was officially underway. The reaction was swift. Major political figures distanced themselves from Crockett, and the media that had once propped him up now turned on him with a vengeance. The hashtag Crockett exposed trended worldwide as the story took center stage in every news cycle. In an emergency press conference, Crockett appeared on screen, his face pale and his voice trembling. It was over for him. The weight of the truth was too much to bear. "People will see this for what it really is," Crockett said, his voice strained. "But it's not just about me. This is about something bigger. They'll come after you all next." But the fear in his eyes was evident. Musk had won. Crockett's empire had crumbled under the weight of his own deceit. Musk's response was simple: he didn't speak. He didn't need to. The truth had already spoken for him. And with that, the war was over. For now. The dust had barely settled, and yet the world was already moving on to the next scandal, the next fight. But the fallout from Musk's and Crockett's clash left scars that would linger far longer than anyone had anticipated. Musk stood at the helm of a massive victory, but there was no celebration. Instead, there was a quiet, deliberate analysis of what had transpired. In the backrooms of Tesla and SpaceX, Musk's advisors sifted through every bit of data, making sure they understood the full scope of what had happened and how it would affect his image going forward. While Musk's stock surged once again, a new wave of uncertainty began to ripple through the political world. Crockett's fall from grace wasn't just about one man losing his reputation, it was a symbol of the disillusionment people felt toward the political system itself. Musk knew this battle was far from over. He had dismantled Crockett's career, but there were other players, other agendas. Behind the scenes, new alliances were already forming, and those who had once seen Crockett as a rising star were now shifting their support elsewhere, finding new heroes to rally behind. The political landscape was always in flux, and Musk understood better than anyone how quickly allegiances could change. But for now, Musk took a moment to reflect on what this had truly cost. He had exposed Crockett, yes, but he had also pulled back the curtain on the darker side of the tech world, on how easily power could be manipulated from both the shadows of cryptocurrency and the high towers of political influence. At a press conference later that week, Musk made a statement that seemed to sum up the entire conflict. The truth doesn't need to be defended. It just needs to be revealed. And once it is, there's no turning back. The message was clear, and it resonated across the globe. Musk had played the game of power and won, but this victory had reshaped the rules. The world had seen the full scope of how deep political and financial manipulation ran, and no one would look at Musk the same way again. As the media coverage shifted, Crockett's voice grew quieter. His supporters dwindled, and his presence in the political arena began to fade into obscurity. But the damage to his reputation was irreparable. The story of Musk vs. Crockett would go down in history as a turning point, an event that forced both tech giants and politicians alike to reconsider their next moves in the high-stakes game of power. And Musk? He was already preparing for the next fight. Though the immediate storm had passed, the aftermath was just beginning to take shape. Musk's victory over Crockett had shaken the political and tech worlds to their core, but what no one anticipated was the long-term ripple effect that would spread far beyond the two of them. Musk had always been a disruptor, first with PayPal, then with Tesla, and later with SpaceX. But this clash with Crockett wasn't just about one man challenging another. It was about the clash of two vastly different power structures, the tech oligarchy that Musk represented and the political establishment that Crockett, despite his fall, symbolized. As months passed, Musk's triumph over Crockett became a key talking point in political circles. Musk wasn't just a businessman, he was now seen as a political player, someone who could single-handedly shape public opinion and influence the outcomes of national debates. The political landscape was never the same. Politicians began to view Musk with a mixture of respect, fear, and admiration, all while questioning whether they could afford to stand in opposition to him. What followed was a surge in Musk's influence, far beyond the boundaries of his companies. Government started to look at his moves with a heightened sense of caution. His ability to shape the narrative through social media, his wealth, and his relentless pursuit of innovation made him a force no one could ignore. Behind the scenes, new alliances were forming. Major political figures reached out to Musk, seeing the writing on the wall: the New World Order was coming, and tech was at the forefront. But Musk, ever the strategist, was not quick to commit. He understood the risks of aligning himself too closely with the very institutions that had tried to undermine him. Still, the opportunities were undeniable. And the media began to play their part in building the myth of Elon Musk as the singular man who could challenge the very foundation of the political elite. Yet not all the changes were positive for Musk. While his influence grew, so did the scrutiny. His critics, once drowned out by his triumphs, began to regroup, preparing their next moves. The narrative of Musk the Destroyer had begun to take hold in some circles, and with it came a wave of fear-mongering. Some believed Musk's grip on both the tech world and public opinion was too powerful, too dangerous for democracy. And as the political stage readjusted to accommodate his new role, Crockett, though publicly defeated, wasn't entirely out of the game. His influence was gone, but his story wasn't over. The key question lingered in the background: who would challenge Musk next? It was only a matter of time before a new adversary rose, eager to take on the tech magnate and reclaim the balance of power. But for now, Musk stood unchallenged, knowing that this game of political chess had no end, only new opponents waiting in the wings. As the world continued to absorb the reverberations of Musk's triumph, new and unexpected challengers began to emerge, sensing an opportunity to capitalize on the void left by Crockett's downfall. Musk, the unyielding force, had set a new standard in the battle for power, and now it was up to the next wave of political players and tech moguls to stake their claim. One such challenger appeared out of nowhere, an ambitious tech entrepreneur who, like Musk, had built an empire from scratch. This new player, known only as Riley Hart, had garnered attention with a string of successful startups, each of them pushing the boundaries of artificial intelligence and virtual reality. But what set Riley apart was their calculated silence after Musk's victory over Crockett. While everyone else was talking, Riley was watching. And now, they were ready to move. Riley's public image was carefully constructed, an enigma, detached from the usual media circus that Musk thrived on. But Riley had something Musk didn't: an extremely loyal following in Silicon Valley and a reputation for making ruthless business moves when the time was right. Riley didn't take to Twitter, nor did they release press statements. Instead, their presence grew through a series of high-profile meetings with some of the world's most influential financial backers. The whispers of an impending move began circulating through the financial district, and the word on the street was clear: Riley Hart was going to challenge Musk for dominance, and they weren't going to back down. Unlike Crockett, Riley wasn't trying to destroy Musk publicly. Instead, they aimed to quietly infiltrate, offering a technological alternative that could eclipse Musk's ventures. While Musk had his companies in electric vehicles and space exploration, Riley set their sights on the next frontier: quantum computing and mind-controlled AI. If successful, this could fundamentally change the game, bringing in an entirely new level of innovation and creating a rival empire. Riley's first public move was subtle: a series of small, cryptic messages about the future of technology posted on a private platform. Nothing directly targeted Musk, but the implications were clear. Riley wasn't interested in waging war through the media. Instead, they planned to win the battle with superior technology and a more calculated approach. As the world watched this slow build-up, Musk was no fool. He could feel the rising tension. Riley had carefully observed him, learned from his methods, and now, they were playing the game in their own way. Musk had no choice but to acknowledge that his current reign could be threatened by this new challenger, though he knew it wasn't going to be easy. Riley was a ghost in the system, waiting for the right moment to strike. The question loomed: would Musk be able to outmaneuver Riley, just as he had with Crockett, or was this the beginning of a new chapter, one in which the future of technology wasn't controlled by a single titan. For Musk, this was no longer about personal rivalry, it was about maintaining his grip on the future itself. The silence between Musk and Riley Hart stretched for months, as both sides quietly prepared their next moves. The world had been watching, waiting for the inevitable confrontation. What no one could predict was how quickly things would escalate. This wasn't just a battle for power, but a war for the future. Riley Hart had been carefully laying the groundwork, building their quantum computing empire in the shadows, with an almost surgical precision. Musk, aware of the threat, wasn't about to let another adversary rise to challenge his vision for the future of tech. But this time, the rules had changed. Riley wasn't playing by the old playbook. It started with a simple announcement. Riley Hart unveiled the Nexus project, a quantum computing system so advanced that it promised to revolutionize artificial intelligence, data encryption, and communication. It was a game changer. The sheer scale of the technology threatened to render Musk's neural networks and AI systems obsolete. It wasn't just another tech launch, it was the next leap in human evolution. The public response was immediate. Investors scrambled to get a piece of the Nexus project. Experts from around the world began to speculate about the true potential of the system, claiming that it could eventually create an intelligence far beyond human capability. If Riley succeeded, they wouldn't just be a rival, they would become the singular force in tech. Musk responded, but in a way no one had expected. He didn't immediately attack or discredit Riley's work. Instead, he launched his own moonshot initiative, something bigger than anything anyone could imagine. He unveiled Project Leviathan, an ambitious plan to create a self-sustaining colony on Mars, powered by artificial intelligence, and tied to a new, revolutionary energy source. But Project Leviathan wasn't just about space, it was about creating an entire ecosystem, a new society built from the ground up. It was Musk's ultimate vision for the future, one that extended beyond Earth's limits and pushed humanity into a new era. The announcement was followed by a stunning live-streamed press conference, where Musk addressed the world. This is the next step in human evolution. Not just technology, but the survival of humanity itself. While others seek to control minds, we are aiming for the stars. Project Leviathan isn't just a project. It's a blueprint for the future. The stakes had never been higher. The world was now faced with two competing visions of the future, one that promised a new realm of intelligence and control through quantum computing, and another that offered hope for humanity's survival beyond Earth. Riley Hart, ever the enigmatic figure, didn't immediately respond. Instead, they allowed the media frenzy to build, letting the public discourse rage on. Both visions, Musk's dream of space and Riley's promise of a quantum revolution, had their supporters, their champions, and their detractors. The choice between them became the defining question of a generation. But it wasn't just the tech community that was watching. Governments, world leaders, and even global citizens were beginning to realize that this wasn't just about two billionaires and their empires. It was about the future of everything. Who would control the next great leap in technology? Who would lead humanity into the unknown? As the months passed, it became clear that there was no turning back. Musk and Riley, despite their differences, had unwittingly set the stage for a monumental clash, a battle not just of wills, but of ideologies. The next phase of this technological arms race would define the world for decades, if not centuries, to come. The world was on the brink of a new chapter, and no one knew which side would write it. The final question remained, would Elon Musk's vision of human survival in space triumph, or would Riley Hart's quantum revolution redefine the very fabric of reality? And as the dust settled, one thing was certain, this was just the beginning.